Good, good Monday morning of the fifth week of Easter. And this week was a combination of things because we have May 1st, which is the Feast of St. Joseph. Okay? So it doesn't run where you can run the text consistently like the Apostles, the Act of the Apostles, because it breaks up. But the first couple of days, today and tomorrow, there is the Acts of the Apostles. This is important. The Acts of the Apostles are often, they're not the most preachable text, but they are the story of the early church. And in this one, you can see in the story of the Acts of the Apostles how through the events and the rejection at times, the apostles moved on, and in moving on, they created Christianity. In a sense, they created a global religion. It's because they were, well, I'll read it to you. It says, there was an attempt in Iconium by both the Gentiles and the Jews, together with their leaders, to attack and stone Paul and Barnabas. They realized it and fled to the Lycaonian cities of Lystra and Derbe and to the surrounding countryside, where they continue to proclaim the good news. So they're being stoned, they move on. See? At Lystra, now notice how they live the Christ life. They make Christ present by the way they live and what they do and what they say. At Lystra, there was a crippled man, lame from birth, who had never walked. He listened to Paul speaking, who looked intently at him. He saw that he had the faith. He listened to Paul speaking, who Paul looked intently at him, saw that he had faith to be healed, and called out in a loud voice, stand up straight on your feet. He, the crippled man, jumped up and began to walk about. When the crowd saw what Paul had done, they cried out in Lycaonium, the gods have come down to us in human form. They called Barnabas Zeus and Paul Hermes because he was the chief speaker. And the priest of Zeus, whose temple was at the entrance of the city, brought oxen and garlands to the gates, for he, together with the people, intended to offer sacrifice. The apostles, Barnabas and Paul, tore their garments when they heard this and rushed out to the crowd shouting, men, why are you doing this? We're the same nature as you. We are human beings. We proclaim to you good news, that you should turn from these idols to the living God, who made heaven and earth and sea and all that is in them. In past generations, he allowed all Gentiles to go their own ways. Yet in bestowing his goodness, he did not leave himself without witness, for he gave you rains from heaven and fruitful seasons. He filled you with nourishment and gladness for your hearts. Even with these words, they scarcely restrained the crowds from offering sacrifice to them. You see what Paul did? He made an appeal to what we would call technically natural law. That God is revealed not only through revelation, but God is revealed through the natural processes of life. The weight of God. You see, St. Bonaventure wrote the Itinerarium Manus ad Deum, the mind's road to God, and he works his way up through all human experience, culminating in the mystical union. But you see, you can find God, and that's what Paul is saying to him. You have already found him in what you are normally facing in life. You already have the orderliness of God in your life, which makes it possible for you to live and to flourish. He says, imagine he said you are filled with nourishment and gladness for your hearts. You're happy people. See? We're not saving you from misery. We're saving you. We're completing the happiness that you've already got. We're completing the natural law. We're completing the good thing that is your life. It's not that we're saving you from the trauma of your life, in a sense, not that I can tell from this text. We're giving you the completion of what is already there. We're going to give you a wisdom in Christ that completes the genius of what you already possess. See? I think whatever this is worth, it's fine. In a way, philosophy is the tool of theology, and theology is the tool of faith. We're human reason, reflecting on both the sacred text, the preaching of Paul, the preaching of the saints, of the apostles, you see, coupled with the reflection of the mind, see, which he does here, the seasons of the year, etc. In so doing, one enriches and moves forward in one's a perception of and belief in and understanding of who and what is God. That's why, whatever it's worth, I think that the key element of Catholic education in the great tradition of Catholicism is the reverence for human reason. We don't disdain it. We don't say Glaub allein, faith alone, just the act of faith. We say, yes, faith alone is the ultimate saving grace, faith in Christ. But we live the reflective life in understanding, fides quaerens intellectum, the faith seeking to understand itself employs reason. It employs philosophy. In fact, the truth of the matter is, put simply, it is reason that prevents faith from becoming fanaticism. That's a mouthful, isn't it? Because reason unpacking the faith, that is, unpacking the logic of the belief, who and what is Christ, and who are we as humans, what are we as a church, as she unpacks that philosophically and theologically, it constrains excessive enthusiasm. And that's really true, because there's a thin line between faith and fanaticism. Look at the world in which you have fanatical believers. They're dangerous because there's no restraint. The church, the Catholic Church, has always married the faith to reason. This starts with Paul right here. He gives an argument. See? He respects the intelligence of the people and the cultural intelligence of their times and place. I don't know if I said that right or not. That's why if you go to a Catholic university, why do you study philosophy? And why do you study logic and philosophy as well as theology? Why don't you just teach religion? Because we are in the business of theological reflection, and that's reason. That's use of our rational powers to understand in a disciplined manner what we believe. Okay? Philosophy is the handmaiden of theology. We serve together. We serve together a human pursuit of the divine. Maybe I said that wrong. I think that's extremely important, though, even if I misstated it. So important, because we are not fanatics. We are rational believers. We are reflective believers. And that is the beauty of a Catholic university, is that we don't separate reason from faith or faith from reason. And we have the sciences, the humanities, the arts. It's a complex of human genius in the service of God and the service of humanity. When you get done studying at a place like SLU or Notre Dame, wherever you go, the Catholic institution, you are truly educated in the genius of Western thought, which is both theological, philosophical, scientific, artistic. We are a culture of reflective genius, our culture, see? From mathematics to, you got to see Plato, for instance, at the hierarchy of knowledges, starting with the philosophical, then the mathematical, scientific, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's all of a piece. The arts, you see? It is a tapestry of human genius in the reflection on life, reality, and God. That's why if I'm, in a sense, boosting or boasting about Catholic education, is because it is truly education. But the whole Western culture has been that. The whole Western Christian culture has been the embrace of reason and faith. You don't understand the West. You don't understand the European Western experience if you don't see the central role that faith played in concert with reason and science, producing the reflective disciplines of the West. Theology, philosophy being the handmaiden, you see? That's where we are in our education system, based on that. So you study philosophy with me, but then you go in the theology department and you study theology, and they're not in discord with each other. We're there to serve. The philosophers make ready the reflective mind for the encounter with the faith. That's neat, isn't it? That's a true story.